Okay guys, this is the beginning of me putting in the new control deck. There's the old one. I got the new one sitting right here. So I'm going to start doing this, and I will show you bits and pieces of me taking the old and putting the new back in. Okay, I got the old control deck off. Now all I have to do is unplug these two cords from the control deck, and it pops right out after you take off the 4 screws. There are on the J panel. And now I'm going to take these J panels off that came with an arcade, and I'm going to put these new J panels in, since it's supposed to give it a nicer install. You don't have, you can use the old J panels. They say you can still use these, but if you use theirs, which is $12, it makes it a little easier. They gave me the new J panels for free, so I'm going to use them, but you don't need the new J panels if you don't want to. So I'll show you what it looks like once I get the new J panels in there. Okay, I got the first new J panel on. As you can see it, if you got one of these and you're watching this to see how you install it, you have to be able to see the L, and then its bottom screw is a little bit lower than the back screw. So even though those screws look like they're slanted, this new J panel is almost straight paired to the old one, and here's the old one right there. See, this one's a little more slanted than the other one. I guess that's why they did the screws like they did in these new ones. And make sure these inserts, that the line is straight up and down, because that's where your screws for your control deck goes down in these barrels. So it has to be like that so they can screw in there. So make sure those are up, straight up and down. If not, you're gonna have to take everything apart and then move them up and down again. So there you go. That's why the existing J panels will work, but this new ones make it just a little easier, and it's because of the slant. Okay, I got both new J panels in. There you go. And one thing I need to tell you is do not over tighten these screws that go into the side panel, because these new J panels are a little bit thinner than the old ones, as you can see there. And if you tighten them too much, you will go on the outside. I don't know if you can see or not, but right there I can feel the screw a little bit. So I did go through the paneling a little bit, but it did not crack the artwork. So make sure you do not over tighten these screws. I did pretty good on this side here. Nothing went through. So if you want to use a power tool, use it, but when you get close to the wood, I would use a regular screwdriver so you don't over tighten them. That's what I did with this one here, is I used my power screwdriver. And this one here, I used the power screwdriver until you could barely see any gap between the wood and the screw, and then I used a regular screwdriver. So that's very important. Do not over tighten. Okay, so now gotta take out the screws on the back cover of the control deck. This is the control deck, the old one. You gotta take out the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws on the back of this. Okay, get those 6 screws off. Need to take the cover off. Voila. So everything you see in here has to come out. Headphone jack, joystick, the board, those all got to go out and then go into the new control panel. And once again, if you've never taken any of this stuff out, you see this has glue on it, so be careful when you pry this stuff up. And these are the little tabs I was telling you about in these arcade 1-Up's. Right there. Those little suckers break pretty easily when you try to push these in and then pop them out. Let's see what it looks like on the other side. Yeah, you see the stress right there? It's white. That's the stress that I just put on it to pop them out. It's on both sides, and that's one reason why they gave you new buttons. One, they're better, and two, these buttons here, when you try to push them back in, those things are not going to work because they're already broken. So that's the other reason why they gave us new buttons. So cheap, these buttons that RK1Up uses. I mean, why can't they use this? You can't tell me these ones here with the washer on the back cost much more than these ones. I mean, that's ridiculous. So anybody who replaced the control deck before, replaced their buttons, they know exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, this thing won't really hold in anymore because these buttons won't pop back out. They're pretty much flush with the button now. And to take these wires off these buttons, you just use a pair of pliers or needle nose pliers, and then you just come on here and then just grab onto these wires and just pull them off. Might have to wiggle a little bit, but they come right off with pliers. You can do it with your hands too, but it's just a little easier than using your hands. Make sure you don't ruin these wires, because you got to reuse these wires again, because you're going to take this whole unit and put it in a new one anyway, so there's no reason to take all these wires off from each other. Just the buttons. Mainly because you got to get all this out and you don't need those buttons anymore. So, real easy. So everything else here, this joystick and a board, and then these for the volume and on and off, keep the wires all on there. There's no need to take those off and redo them again. It just make it harder on yourself if you take any of those wires off. Okay, I got all the screws out of the joystick and these buttons. This one had a little bit glue on it, but it was nothing hard to get off. This had a little bit glue in a couple spots. But like I said, be careful with prying this stuff up because it is glued down. The board wasn't glued down. This was glued down a little bit. This is glued down, and the joystick's glued down. So and there's some of that glue you can see coming off the joystick there. And there you go, guys. Everything is off. Got a little bit of glue on here. It's no big deal though. If you want to get that off, you can clean it with some Goo Gone or something if you want to. But this stuff on mine was not glued down that bad. And you saw that all this stuff was pretty easy to come off. So it wasn't as bad as I thought. Sometimes RK1Up used a lot of glue on these, and some of the stuff was a pain in the ass to get off, but they're not using as much glue as they used to. Okay, and then you just have to get these things out. This, and this. And you're done. These little pieces just come out. And the other thing you gotta be careful with is there's these. You need this, and this. And they're glued down too, and you gotta reuse them, so be careful. And if you can see, this is little tabs that kind of hold it in there, but they glued those little tabs, so kind of get careful because you do not want to break those tabs. If you do, you'll have to like super glue it into the new one or something. What I did is I used my razor here to cut through this around these little tabs, because I started breaking one of the tabs, so they won't come out there right. So just use your razor and just kind of cut around the two tabs on the thing. Just cut around them, and then just try to pry it up with your razor. Eventually you'll get it to pop. Okay, I just got that one. I just freed it up. I don't know if you saw it move or not. I think this is the last one I gotta do. Done, but where's it? Aha! Got it. Boom. Okay, guys. I used my razor blade and I used a flat screwdriver to pop these things. I broke one, that's why I started using a razor. But yeah, I got them all done now. Try to flip it over here. See if I can just pry them up now with the screwdriver. Damn, they really had these fuckers glued down. Got it off. So be careful. It's probably been the hardest part so far, this whole thing. Just take your time with these, and you will get them out. I got all three of mine out. As you can see, they're gone. Yeah, they were glued a little bit. You can see some of the residue of the glue right there. So they even glued it down to the things. But if you take your time, you will get those out because you do need them for the new control deck. So there it is, guys. Everything is out except for the buttons because I don't need them. I'll put this one back in. Got the new control deck. I'm putting these white things in. They just snap in. Still be a little careful with them. The first one snaps right in. This one here I'm having a little difficulties. Like I said, I do not want to break them either. There we go. That hole seems a little crooked. There you go. All three are in. This one here looks a little crooked though for some reason, but there's nothing I can do. That's from Mod1Up. Okay, so those are easy to put in. Then I think everything else you have to put in go underneath, well, except for these. But I think I'm gonna do these last. And flip it over, and you see everything is marked for you. So you got the volume, power, joystick. They even tell you where the arrow should be pointing to, and then you got your player 1, player 2. The only thing they didn't mark is this here. This is the for your headset. That's the only one they didn't mark. Interesting. To get started, I guess you bring this back, this little package back here, and you can see the arrow down here has the arrow and it's pointing that way. That is the arrow that's on your joystick. Right there is the arrow, as you see there, and that arrow just faces that way. Okay, you had to stick these two things back in there, and it doesn't matter which one is goes in where because they're exactly the same thing. So this is your volume and power on. And then you put this thing down, and this does go a certain way. The two screws are on, go up on top, and this one here goes on the bottom. You know what? I'm going to put the joystick in this hole here. Make sure the arrow is facing the way they tell you. Move this thing back up here. So the joystick is in place. You know what? I'm going to put a screw in to keep joystick in place. Joystick's down in place. Then you just do the volume stuff here. Get them to go in those little holes. There's like little holes on the back of this. These little buttons here go in there. There they go. That's down in place, and then you got to put these 3 screws back in. 1, 2, and 3. So the smaller screw is the one that goes on top of the board. This longer one goes in the black bracket. These pre-holes they did are pretty nice. The screws go in there really easy. And these screws right here with the looks like it has a little washer around it. That's the ones that hold down the joystick and the headphone bracket. Okay, those 3 screws are in. Now you put down the board. Okay, board's on, joystick's on. Put the head jack back on. Okay, so we got the headset on. We got the volume and power button on there. We got the board on there. And then I just gotta tighten down the rest of the screws for the joystick, and then the buttons, and I'm done. Make sure you don't pinch any of your wires. I think I did pretty good. I didn't pinch any of the wires. Got those down, and then I'll just hand tighten them. Make sure screws are in there and snug. Now we just put the buttons in. Waiting buttons goes over here. And if I was you, I don't know if you can see or not, but I would make sure these little pieces that the wiring harness connects to, there's two of them, I would make sure they're closest to the board and not being like out here, because they might not reach. So make sure you just turn them there so they're facing, or the two brackets are facing the joystick. And these ones here you just easily screw in. All you have to do is hand tighten these. Okay, there you go, guys. That's what it looks like. Okay, so we're almost done. All we have to do is plug in the wires for the buttons, and we're done. Okay, you just take the wires and slide them over the little poles. And if you didn't know, over here, the light brown one goes to the top white button. This pinkish color one goes to the red button, and then the red color here goes to the bottom white button. Okay, guys, so there we go. Got all the buttons on, all attached. Got this plugged in, this button's plugged in, these buttons are all buttoned in. And if you didn't know too, if you lose track of what color these buttons are, on here how they have it marked G1 start, G2 start, that's what the board says on here. It says G1 start and G2 start. So that's why they put those letterings on there. That's what the board calls them. Okay, the last thing we have to do, we flip it over here, guys. Look, it is all intact. Looks nice. Got everything in there. On and off works. Volume works. Looks like. And if you didn't know what these things were that came in the kit, these are just if you want to put them on your screw. That, you know, that holds the right here. You got the 4 screws that hold the control panel down, and all you do is you just put those on the screw down on there. It's a little plastic washer, and it just makes it flush. That's all those things are for. This is the screw that they give you in the kit instead of using the silver ones that came with RK1Up's control deck. So all we have to do now is just put the ball on there. And if you didn't know, there's like a little ridge on the back of these that faces down. You put that on there. Okay, we're all set to install it into the Dragon's Lair machine. You know, I got the new J panels on here. I got rid of the old ones. You really don't need the J panels anymore if you don't want to, if you don't want to screw it down, because they made this thing so snug fitting, it doesn't really need any screwing down. Just to let you know. So if you didn't buy the new J panels and you're having a hard time with the old ones, just take them off. You don't really need them because it's a snake come with the holes to put the back cover back on. But you could probably put it on if you want to. I'm not going to. Okay, we got both our wires plugged in there. So you can put this bad boy on. Like I said, you can see it's a real snug fit. Okay, I think it's in correct. Like I said, I told you it was a real snug fit. Okay, here it is. Let's turn it on, make sure this thing works. Looks like it's gonna work. Yep. Nice. Okay, so everything works. Awesome. And the last thing we have to do is to do the 4 screws. Oh yeah, they did have holes in there already. You just couldn't see them. So if you don't mess with them, you don't even know they're there. And then, okay guys, got all 4 screws on there. So make sure those J-panel inserts are completely straight up and down. Makes it a lot easier. So I had to take my control deck off a couple times to realign those things. Okay, there you go guys. It is in. There it is. You see the 4 screws. They're all in. Like I said, this thing's so form-fitting, you really don't need to put those screws in there, but I had the J-panels in there that they gave me for free. And I figured I might as well use them. Okay, so you see the top comes right up to the edge of the screen there. You can see there's a little black strip there for the monitor, so it does not cover up the monitor at all. So really nice job, Mod1Up. There's the front. This thing is awesome looking. I recommend you getting it. Like I said, I don't need that plastic protector over here anymore because I have the right vinyl on here that won't show fingerprints and won't wear. So it's just like a real arcade control deck now. It looks so nice. I love it. The quality of the vinyl is nice. The quality of the graphics are nice. It fits in there perfectly. Nice and snug. We got new buttons now. Hear the buttons, how different they sound? Go over here to Tron. Sounds so much better. They feel better. They have more spring to them. There it is, guys. All complete. Definitely give this a 10 out of 10 because installation was easy. I recommend it for anybody you want a little upgrade on Dragon's Lair. Go to Mod1Up because they did a really nice job on this thing. It takes about 3 to 4 weeks to get it in as well. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please smash that like button for me. I appreciate it. If you're new to the channel or haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button and turn that bell on so you don't miss any of my future videos. Until then, I will see ya.